This is the first of a two-part recording on citing and referencing using the Harvard style. This short video covers the basics of citing and referencing using the Harvard style, and I've found that there's some great videos out there on YouTube which cover this material excellently, but I've also noticed that when examples are shown on screen it can be difficult for students to interpret how they should appear on the page of an actual academic assignment. So with that in mind, I've created a document with examples of some of the approaches that I'm going to share here, so students can see actual examples of how these are used on paper. The document is available to download for free from Mla University Library ePrints repository. This document accompanies this video, and it's titled Citing and Referencing Using the Harvard Style Examples, and it can be downloaded from this link here. So I'll share this link in the description for the video as well. When you're clicking on this link, it'll take you to a website that looks like this in the Mla ePrints repository. So simply click on the download button here and you'll download the document. So I've cited a lot of my own published material in this document, so I don't risk misrepresenting other people's work. The piece of writing in parts A and B is written to demonstrate how to cite and how to reference, and it shouldn't be taken as an example of a coherent piece of well-written writing or a well-constructed argument on its own terms. I think one of the reasons why some students often find citing and referencing to be a chore is that they don't really understand what purpose it actually serves in helping you achieve higher grades for papers and assignments. So with this in mind, this short presentation that's in two parts will cover the following areas. Firstly, we'll look at why you have to take citing and referencing seriously, and then we'll look at what is citing and why use the Harvard style. In part 2 of this video, we'll look at actually how to do it and some do's and don'ts that are based on my experience of grading and assessing assignments over the last 10 years. So when we first look at why you have to take citing and referencing seriously, the first answer is that old chestnut, plagiarism. Now, plagiarism is when you take and present the work, the thoughts, writings, inventions, innovations, the intellectual work of somebody else, and you present it as your own. Plagiarism is poison. It is toxic. It is the cardinal sin of academia. The reason why people do it, I think, are because they take shortcuts when they don't have enough time to finish off their assignment, and they think that it won't be noticed. Bear in mind that the people who are grading your assignments often have PhDs from universities where they have spent 6 or 7 years researching deeply into a field, so they know the literature, they know the work that is being used without being properly cited. And secondly, we have myriad ways of software of actually detecting this that were reported for us in a quick and easy way. So people take shortcuts, not realizing that it is often severely penalized in many universities. Please stay away from easy answer websites, ones that will give you a quick answer. It's bad academic practice in the first place, but when you see an easy answer website being cited, you know that a student hasn't done any work. It's like declaring to your lecturer that you're too lazy to engage at the assignment. Sloppiness in writing can often result in citations not being correctly cited. Students think that it's an innocent mistake. It's actually a very serious one if it means that you haven't clearly identified the ways in which the work or the ideas or the concept belongs or comes from somebody else. The second reason why you have to take it seriously is something we'll call the Brown M&M test. Now, if you haven't heard of Van Halen, your parents may have heard of them, a 1980s hair glam metal band who were one of the forerunners in putting together Stadium Rock. A little bit cheesy, great fun, but they used to encourage kind of urban legends about their tales of excess. They've openly admitted that this kind of, they'd like to cultivate whatever notoriety they could from those times. Van Halen and brown M&Ms mean has usually been taken to mean that Van Halen had on their rider or their list of requirements that they would have expected that would have been laid out in catering for them before they went on stage when they arrived in various towns to play gigs at certain venues. That on the rider there had to be a large bowl of M&Ms with all the brown ones taken out, and this was usually seen as being kind of a an extensive excessive joke that would involve getting somebody at the venue to kind of pick through all these bags of M&Ms, which were kind of a very common sweet that would have been used in a lot of catering packages at concerts in the 1980s, to take them out. There is a grain of truth in this though, and there's actually a very practical reason in it. Members of Van Halen have spoken about this since to kind of clarify what this meant. There was a clause buried in the middle of a highly technical contract that they had with every conference promoter that said that if any brown M&Ms were found in the backstage area of a venue, it would mean that the concert promoter would forfeit their fee, and the concert could be cancelled. Basically, it meant that the concert promoter wouldn't be paid, and Van Halen could leave after without having playing. The reason behind that was because they were trying to do something that hadn't been done before. Van Halen had a huge amount of lights that had to be brought to venues that hadn't been designed for music concerts. They had to, there was a cost attached. If the technical element of it didn't work, it meant that the band's reputation as a great live act would have been impacted by something outside their control. They couldn't have that. There was a cost associated with lights being set up incorrectly, and that additional expertise would have to be brought in. Union hours would have to be paid, so it would cost the band more money if this stuff hadn't been done correctly. And they also were concerned for the well-being of their crew and of their audience, of their fans. They didn't want anybody getting injured because somebody had taken a shortcut. So in the middle of this deeply complex technical contract, the concert promoters had put in Van Halen had put in a line saying that if any brown M&Ms are found in the backstage area, then the fee would be forfeited by the conference promoter. And this is a way for them actually, making sure that there was a quick and easy way of checking whether all elements of the contract had been followed. And the word got out that Van Halen took this stuff very, very seriously, and there was a legal and financial implication for it for conference promoters. So they allowed that rumor to circulate. A very, very clever piece of work. So what does this have to do with academic writing? If your citing or referencing is inadequate, incorrect, non-existent, or in my experience inconsistently applied, it is very, very easy to notice in an academic document. So by not taking this stuff seriously, you can very easily demonstrate to the person who decides the grade for your assignments that you haven't bothered to take the brown M&Ms out. So it is an easy thing to do. Now bear in mind that you can apply the ideas of other people to your own work as long as you cite them fully. The Harvard style is used in a range of disciplines, and it's gradually become the de facto international standard in all business programs. However, if you're not a business major, you need to be aware of what the accepted citation style is for other disciplines or for your other departments, other departmental preferences. The APA style is used by the American Psychological Society, and it appears to be used by many psychology departments. The Mla style, in my experience, style is used by the Modern Languages Association, and in my experience, it's the style that's used in many humanities or liberal arts-based disciplines. There are significant differences between these, so it's important to be aware of them and make sure that you don't apply them when you've been asked to report in a Harvard style. So we need to be very conscious of the essential difference between citing and referencing. Whenever you use an idea, a statement, a quote, or anything that's been generated by somebody else, you must cite it as you use it in the text. This citation does not have to contain a lot of information, but it serves as an important signpost to the reference section in your document, where the person who's assessing and grading your work can check to see if you've used all the sources credibly and correctly. All citations should link to correctly formatted references for you to pass stage 1 of the Brown M&M test for academic writing. Now, when students encounter this convention in academic writing, it can appear a little counterintuitive at first. Granted, if you were to see a page like this in something that you're reading for the first time, you'd likely find it to be difficult to read due to the extensive use of parentheses, bracketing, numbers, and A's and B's, etc. Rest assured, though, although that this is standard academic communication, scientists of all types expect to see a citation pathway in student and in research writing. Reading scholarly work, therefore, is obviously different to reading the work of Jane Austen, George R.R. Martin, or E.L. James. So in the next video, which is part 2 of this this YouTube series. We'll look at what citations look like and how you technically apply them, and some important do's and don'ts. So at the next video you should click on is Citing and Referencing Using the Harvard Style Part 2.